Welcome to the New Rugged Order podcast, exclusively on the Hard Knock Digital Culture channel. Now give it up to your host, people, MM2K.
What's up, people? What's up, people? It is your boy, MM2K of the Hard Knock Digital Culture channel, back again with another NRO live. I love that intro, man. I love it because it's over the top. You think that we're leading the revolution in a march down Fifth Avenue, and we're just talking about video games. But we're talking about hardcore video games, so I had to have some edge to it. You know what I mean? Had to have some edge to it. When we was putting it together, I went to the producer of that intro and I said, man, I want shit blowing up. I want motherfuckers running for their life. He said, hold on. This is a video game podcast, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Making sure I wasn't getting him caught up in some secret crazy malicious shit. I said, yeah, this is video games, bro. It's like we going that deep, man. But shout out to everybody. Thank you for joining us for another NRO podcast. Again, we talk about hardcore gaming, man. What's the biggest news stories in the hardcore gaming world? And we got 3 good stories for you today. Story number 1 is this whole ABK deal, this Activision Blizzard deal with Microsoft. It looks like there's some light at the end of the tunnel for Microsoft. I don't quite understand it, so we're going to try to understand it together, what this means and where I fall down on all this, or where I fall in all this. Then we're going to talk about Callisto Protocal. It was a game that, interestingly, I'm not real big on the horror action games. I love Dead Space 3. And I know that's the least like one, but I'm not the biggest on those horror action games. But Callisto Protocol, due to the lack of AAA content this year, had my eye. Then the scores came out, and I was like, "Wow, is that they scores were like mid, but they were trying to make it really seem that bad." And I was wondering why. And I said, "Oh." So then we listen to the public, and the public isn't jiving with the scores. Once again, we're starting to see a disconnect, so we're going to talk about that. And then lastly, man, if you watch the biggest game award show of the year, the Game Awards, there is a giveaway that is happening right now. I mean, that you can enter yourself in right now. And we're going to talk about that. It's going to be happening during the Game Awards, and you could very well win yourself a brand new Steam Deck from Valve, courtesy of this award show. So with all that said, shout out to everybody. Thank you for coming through. Let's get right into today's topics. With no further ado, you know how we do. Let me show you something. All right, so this is the ABK deal has been rumored to have a new ray of hope. And this has all been whirlwind stuff. Over the weekend, what happened was the ABK deal was said to be in dire straits because there was a rumor that the FTC was looking to block it. This is a 4-group panel of Democrats or somebody, I don't know, that were looking to block the deal. Then over the same weekend, it was said, it was also rumored and leaked, supposedly, that there was dissension among the Democratic board, the 4-man board that would block this deal on the FTC side, that one is deciding to side with Microsoft and another one is being convinced to side with Microsoft, which would make it a 2-2 split. And that would be embarrassing to this senator or this politician because they want to lead the charge on, stopping the conglomeracy taking over the world. And if they can't show a unification in that's a signal that there might be a problem with them and their leadership. So they might approve the deal. I'm going to read the story and then I'm going to talk about what this all means despite all the rhetoric that you guys have heard over the weekend. My God, you just heard a lot of people just chomping at the bit and trying to give their insider expert information. And I'm just going to simply break down what it means. Okay. All right. But let's read this article. So it says, the FTC may yet approve Microsoft's Activision deal with concessions as claimed. This is coming courtesy of VGC VideoGamesChronicle.com. Fresh reports suggest that U.S. regulatory may prefer a settlement to a lawsuit. The chair of the FTC may be willing to approve Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard to avoid a messy vote split, its claim. A new report by New York Post cites that FTC insiders who claim that of the 4-person panel currently investigating the proposed deal, 2 may be looking to side with Microsoft. This will reportedly not be ideal for FTC chair Lena Khan, who insiders claim was looking to potentially either block the deal or take it to court in order to show the FTC's dedication to reining in the power of large tech companies. According to the report, the panel consists of 3 Democrats and 1 Republican. The latter, Christine Wilson, has previously suggested she supports the proposed deal. Now, the New York Post source claims that at least one of the 3 Democrats is also leaning towards approving Microsoft, leading to a potential 2-2 vote, or even more if other Democrats decide to back the deal. Since this would potentially damage Khan's attempt to block the deal or take it to court, it's being claimed that she may prefer to agree a settlement in which Microsoft makes concessions. This could be similar to the concessions Microsoft is reportedly expected to offer to EU regulators, as reported last week, including a 10-year Call of Duty licensing deal with Sony. Speaking about the potential of a 2-2 for more, former FTC chairman William Kovacic told the New York Post, Lena will probably not put things in a position for that to take place, so instead, having the vote, she would make the motion to approve the settlement. That the way out is to say we got a great deal and only got it because we've been badasses. Kovacic also claimed that Microsoft's offer to make concessions would weaken the FTC's case if they decided to block the merger. What makes it difficult is when Microsoft goes to friends in blue and says, we have provided a package of solutions for all the perceived problems, and the folks at the FTC are being very unreasonable and they don't take it, he explained. According to a report published by Bloomberg last week, which cites a person familiar with the matter, Microsoft is prepared to fight in court should the U.S. Federal Trade Commission attempt to block the Activision deal. The claim followed an earlier Politico report, which alleged that the FTC is likely to file an antitrust lawsuit. I want to put that in a new tab. To block Microsoft's proposed takeover of the Call of Duty parent. Activision's Blizzard CCO has also said the company won't hesitate to fight to make sure Microsoft is successful in acquiring. Okay, so there's several things about that I want to address. First and foremost, because I want to address the fanboyism that has predominated the conversations around this, and it has a lot of people confused. The fanboyism is that this is all legit going on. This is what's really happening, like to the T. And that the deal is going to go through. Just as I said to people when the original FTC rumors were put out there, Cold Blood Sensei, what's going on, good brother? Just when I put that out there, that the original consensus was that this deal was over, These are all rumors, first and foremost. I believe that someone close to the FTC is putting this out there, but you're not to take this all holistically. A lot of times when people leak stuff, they want to give you somewhat of a high level idea of what's going on from 5,000 feet, but they're not going to tell you everything, because when you have such a short number of people that are involved in these processes, the leaker can be exposed, and that could be a lot of problems for the leaker. If that happens, they're shit out of luck. They're SOL. So sometimes they'll throw in junkets of shit to make people to take the trail off of them. I said this at the beginning when the FTC rumors started, where it wasn't looking so good. This is all rumor. This is all rumor. We don't know. We don't know what is going on. All right. So because of that, it's best to look at what we do know, which is going on, which is we definitely know that the CMA is on Microsoft's ass about this, and that the CMA could cause some issues. But in all likelihood, this is opinion. In all likelihood, I'm like 60-40. Just from my business perspective, I'm 60-40 that the deal could go through. That's just my opinion. And I said that the FTC rumor would, if it's real, is definitely going to change that number in a significant way. So don't fall for all the, and really the thing that kills me is that they're fucking citing Michael Pachter. Like, Michael Pachter he gives great parties at E3. That's fucking it. Nothing this man has said has had any concrete foundation. Didn't he say earlier in 2021 that PlayStation would be forced to do Game Pass, or PlayStation is in a horrible... He said a whole bunch. He placates to the audience to stay relevant so he can continue hosting his great E3 parties. The problem is you have too many people talking about this that don't know what the fuck is up and down when it comes to business. They haven't done the research, and now that all this shit is happening, now they want to become paralegals by Googling shit. You can't become a paralegal overnight by Googling this or listening to somebody who also may have their biased interpretations. I know a lot of people are listening to Hogue Law or listening to this one or listening to that one. I don't listen to any of them. I'm just looking at the results of things that happen, because even lawyers have their biased interpretations of stuff, depending upon their profession. Some lawyers may be great at arguing XYZ in their position, but if you're not a lawyer on this case, that really doesn't tell too much. So I don't listen to any of them. You got to be a lawyer that specifies in this, for one, and for two, if you're not heavily embedded with this case, you don't have any idea better than I do. You have to know the people making the decision. So if this FTC rumor is true, this would be the most concrete evidence that we would have regarding the FTC. But this has no bearing on the CMA, who still is on Microsoft's ass. But with all that said, I still give it a 60-40% chance in favor of Microsoft closing this deal. But again, don't fall for this. Don't fall for this rumor. Don't give Michael Pachter no unwarranted or unnecessary shine. Okay? The man has been wrong. Like they say, even a dead clock is right twice a day. He's wronger than a dead clock. Okay. So those are my thoughts on this FTC rumor. I will say this though, and this is all speculative. Geek to Sneak, what's going on, brother? I will say this, that if these rumors are true, if all these rumors are true, then that would give some breathing room to Microsoft, despite what CMA is doing, and that leaves it at 60-40. Because one thing I'm not going to lie and make it seem like that I know is that, what does this mean if the CMA still blocks it? I don't know that. I don't know if they can still push this thing through. I heard somebody mumble that, the deal just wouldn't be relevant in EU. How does that even happen? You know what I mean? So we'll see how that works out. That being said, the business side of me feels 60-40 again, that it's going to go through, but the gamer side of me, I'm going to be honest with you for full transparency, the gamer side of me doesn't want this deal to go through. Doesn't mean that I can't understand that I can't be unbiased in the business prospects of this, but the gamer side of me doesn't want this deal to go through. I don't want this deal to go through as is because, one, it sets a deadly precedent, and two, it lessens the product for gamers. Let me explain. Number one, it sets a deadly precedent because now you are creating this era where a handful of companies will control the biggest games. And no other company will have an opportunity to do so, to get into this, to inject it with new innovation or anything like that. It'll be a handful of companies. And then gaming is just going to get weaker and watered down because it's going to be what Microsoft used to do back in the 90s, where they would do something, it would be okay for a while, and then people would be like, you know what? Yeah, the way Microsoft is doing it, that shit stinks. Like you had internet companies like locally in Pittsburgh, Starlink, and you had companies like Netscape or whatever that were just bringing internet better than what Microsoft could at the time, and Microsoft just bought them. They bought them, killed them, and didn't make any improvements, didn't implement none of the shit that these companies had to make their product better. They just bought them and killed them. Now, I'm not saying that Microsoft is going to buy Call of Duty and kill it, but we don't see there's no example so far under this current regime that they have the ability to oversee and curate content to make it better. Prime example, Crackdown. When this new regime came in and they told you Crackdown is going to be the best, we want Crackdown to be a major title and our franchise is going to be so great. It was one of the worst fucking Crackdowns, and I didn't think it could get any worse than 2. One of the worst fucking Crackdowns ever. After years of delays, you look across the street. What happened? Yoshida looks at God of War and says, no. You gotta go back to the drawing board. Then what happens? We get one of the best games, as people argue, a lot of people argue ever, but I would say of the best games last generation or last couple of generations. And then they came out with a sequel that it's already knocking my socks off. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not that far into it. And now you have a culture that, in my opinion, used to be great at theatrics, but wasn't great at gameplay. Now they are starting to master both. Because leadership knows how to look over games and say, wow, okay, this is what you need to do. Another prime example, even more recently, we're going to get into this later, Callisto Protocol. New studio, great vision, but maybe too new to the game and to the newer hardware to make their vision fully thought out. Sony saw an opportunity to try to bring this vision through the best. And Sony sent 150 techs, I believe it is, or whatever, to help with the development of the game on their side. Or maybe just overall. It could have been overall development, like with rendering shit and all this other stuff, lighting and technology. It could have had an effect on the Xbox version of it too. Who did Microsoft send? Like the most that we've heard Microsoft do in the last 2 decades is they had technicians go and help Sea of Thieves with the fucking water. And they're supposed to be helping on something now, right? Like they sent their techs to help on some type of game. But Microsoft is always having to go externally for help. I'm not talking about partnerships on technology that's normally partnered with outside. You know what I'm saying? Like when Crackdown, before Crackdown went through its 80th rendition, they were partnered with like this cloud technology group. And I understand, and that's understandable. Sony's partners with outside people. Nintendo, you know what I mean? For certain aspects that are just known, that these groups that they're partnering with are just world-renowned experts at so-and-so technology. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just the normal development of games. We're hearing it's happening with Fable. It's happening with Perfect Dark. Like, god damn. And we're not talking about normal outsourcing of code. Because Sony has done that too. Last of Us 2. They've sent, they hired at the last moment a bunch of coders from China to help, do some simple shit. I'm talking about integral development they got to go outside for. Where Sony's doing the opposite. For integral development, they're lending help. And this is not anything that I'm making up. For those of you that are too wet behind the ears to know this, check out, I think it's episode 2 or 3 of the best damn podcast, period. Co-hosting your boy. Me, my homie Post Up, my homie J-Dub, Nethals, and the big homie, Next Gen 720. All right. Where we had David Jaffe on there, the creator of God of War. And what did David Jaffe say? The creator of God of War said that Microsoft, even though he loves Game Pass because he can play 5,000 games for a penny, and he can spend the rest of his money on shrooms and weed and Diet Coke. Shout out to David Jaffe. But he said Microsoft has a management problem. So it's very clear. They don't know how to manage and curate great games to make sure, that the product that's being put in your hand is fantastic and superb. So now what they're doing is they're going to the old playbook of Microsoft back in the late 90s. And again, I know about Microsoft because I wrote a paper about them. And just like a lot of the Microsoft or the Xbox fanboys today, back in the 90s when I was in college, I was a fanboy of Microsoft on a business side because I was young and I didn't know any better. And I just thought it was cool. This was the shit that this company of quote unquote smart people was just buying up everything and they were showing their dominance. This was the shit. No, wasn't good. Wasn't good. Because they bought up stuff and all they did was smother innovation from these other companies. And the fear is that with Microsoft buying up Activision, Blizzard, They're not going to make it better. They just want to make sure that these games are in-house and they control them. They're not the end result. There's not going to be any innovation that's brewing. That's the fear. There's not going to be any innovation brewing out of these studios now that they're in Microsoft's camp. Matter of fact, the fear is that they might do worse because now they got this cushion of all this extra money, and they, it doesn't fall on their shoulders. That's the fear. And I think the fear is definitely understandable. We have not seen a project from Microsoft internally that they developed that met the expectations of its target audience, except for Sea of Thieves. And congratulations to Sea of Thieves. They found a niche. I don't want to say niche. They found a gimmick. They found a games of a service gimmick that brings in revenue. That's not what people was asking for from Microsoft. So I'm definitely not the biggest fan of this deal going through because I have some of those fears as well. I don't like what Microsoft is doing with their own internal studios. And my fear is if they get a hold of these other studios, even though I don't play these games except for Diablo. I don't play these games. But if that's the precedent, Microsoft has the most money. They're going to buy up the most studios. And therefore, you're going to see the least talented output from their studios. That's the fear, because the man in charge or whoever's in charge don't really know how to curate a good game anyway. Why don't you put something out there? As long as you can drum it up, dress it up, put lipstick on the pig, talk about it, monetize it, whatever, we're good. These fears could be unwarranted. They could be wrong. Here's how we know that they're possibly wrong or step in the right direction. I don't want to give too much credit because this game was in development for a long time. And I agree with Colin Moriarty when he talked about he doesn't put that much faith in Microsoft's vision of making Game Pass the ultimate value because of their games. He said he basically was, and I'm paraphrasing heavily here, but the gist of it was that he can't base it off of Psychonauts. Excuse me. He can't base it off of Starfield. And there was something else that he mentioned. He said because those weren't games that they flourished from the ground up. Or those aren't games that were in-house, that were built in-house. Like they got access to those games at the tail end of the process. And I agree. That was the point he was trying to make. Not that Microsoft can't claim credit for them at all. Yeah, they're games, but he's talking about as far as evaluating Microsoft as an overseer of output. He doesn't put trust in it yet in order to say that Game Pass is going to be sustainable, because when you look at sustainability when it comes to Game Pass, you can't just look at games like MLB and Outriders, you know what I mean? Like, okay, we're going to pay you, $9 million to put this game on Game Pass for X amount of time, and we're going to see how much money that we get from that transaction. Because he said, and may be right, I don't know, I didn't try to crunch the numbers, those one-off deals alone, they're sustainable for the company. The problem becomes when you put games like Halo, when you put games like Starfield in Game Pass, and those games, 70% of their usage is via Game Pass. But if Game Pass is only stuck at 30 million people and it's not really growing beyond that, even with these $500 million games like Halo being put in there, is those transactions profitable? And what Colin is saying is that Starfield might be a hit. And there was another game that he said that might be a hit. But he's not counting those games because those games weren't curated from the ground up within Microsoft or from an early position. Games like Avowed, games like Outer Worlds 2, and so forth, Fable, those are going to be the tall-telling games to see if Microsoft can curate a title from the ground up, quality control it from a high level standpoint, and put a good game in your hands. Because he said when they've had to do it from beginning to end, they failed under this regime. And I agree. I totally agree. Look at them. Crackdown. I mean, they've either been failures or heavily mediocre. Crackdown, Halo 4, Halo 5, Gears 4, Gears 5. I mean, these games were pretty good, but they fell way short of expectations, even when they were good. So I don't want the company. And this was my same problem with them on the cloud. Hence why I went with companies like Stadia, and I put more faith even in Amazon and definitely in GFN, because out of all the cloud services, Microsoft was doing the biggest talk before Stadia hit the scene, and they have the lowest outputting product. It's the worst out of them all. It is the worst. Microsoft has a expectation delivery problem. We don't want to just see you put something out there in the cloud. We're expecting that if Microsoft does it, it's phenomenal. We don't want to see you just put a game out there. We're expecting if Microsoft does it, it's phenomenal. We don't want to see you just buying games. We want to see them under the Microsoft brass become phenomenal, better than they ever have. And the only thing that I disagree with Colin on is that I think we're going to get a test, the first test of many, on Microsoft's fortitude. I think it's a good thing in one regard that Starfield is under them. I think that delay of Starfield was due to Starfield probably releasing with the atypical Bethesda jank that a lot of games release with. Now, back in my heyday, though, that Bethesda jank was charming. Oh, this is the Bethesda bug. The game is so big. Can you clean it up before you release it totally? It's okay. I still get to explore. I still get to have a fun. I get to laugh at some of the jank. But overall, this game is an enthralling experience. That was in my heyday. That was in the early 2000, 2005, whenever Fallout 3 came out and all that other shit. That was the expectation then. Now games have to be polished. Like, these newer gamers aren't having that shit. They don't give a fuck. The game has to be polished. There is no such thing. That's a more PC gamer type of attitude, because a lot of PC gamers do early access. They like to be part of the process early on. So some of that jank, they don't mind as long as they have a good core experience. Console gamers, or this new age set of gamers, no. If there's bugs, if there's jank, they don't care how good the core game is. It gets slaughtered. So that Bethesda jank, where it's really a demo, or no, it's really a beta, where Bethesda's launching it for like the first year, it's a fucking beta. And then after that first year, then you get the real game. You can't do that anymore. So I will give credit to Microsoft about that. That aspect of it could possibly make Starfield a smoother game, a less buggy game. I do think that Phil probably saw the output of it, and he said, it can't release like this. I'll give him credit for that. But anybody could see that. Can Phil and Matt Booty measure quality? I'm talking about gameplay and game loop quality. Fuck the bugs. Yes, you gotta get the bug. Fuck the bugs. Because I'll take a game that has bugs as long as it's not game breaking bugs. Little glitches here and there. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about that shit. I want that gameplay, that game loop to be phenomenal. Does Phil understand what that means? And I'm saying Phil, and I'm not saying Matt Booty, because a lot of us spoke at the beginning of this generation that Halo was Microsoft's test. This was the biggest game in Xbox's history. We often talk about PlayStation and how PlayStation gets away with this. Oh, PlayStation has never gotten away with this. Clip this if you could. After gamers have been waiting for a very long time for Microsoft to put out a banger, 8 years they've been waiting. And Halo was supposed to be that banger. How do we know it was supposed to be a banger? Because they spent $500 million to develop and market the game. You don't do that for something that is just, you're getting your whistle wet. No. You're doing that because this is supposed to be a fucking banger. Brand new engine and all that shit, right? And everybody from C to Shining C, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, Sega Saturn, Atari 2600, every fanboy from every coast, tall and wide, said this is the make it or break it game for Xbox. This is going to prove to us if Xbox is worthy to be mentioned with PlayStation. What's going on with Halo? Halo's a clusterfuck of the pure sense. Halo is a clusterfuck of the pure sense. And guess what? Microsoft is getting away with it. Why? Because they bought so many studios and they can keep kicking the can down the road. And now they're about to buy Call of Duty and Overwatch. And you know what I'm saying? Now do you understand the fear and concern? Even if you're a neutral person who really isn't a fanboy, but you favor Xbox, now that should make you understand. The entire world told you that Microsoft had to show and prove with Halo, or that was it. They had to. They failed. They failed miserably. And it's like Halo never was. Sony, whether they said that we believe in generations, they're not showing you showcase. Sony has never been guilty of such a thing as having a pinnacle game, a game pinnacle to them. They've never even been in that position, goddammit, since PlayStation 3. They haven't been in that position. It's been a very long time since PlayStation was in a position where people were watching them and they were like, you guys got to show and prove because you fucked up. And this could be the end of you if you don't do right. Let's see how you do this. The last time PlayStation was in that position was the end of the PlayStation 3 era, when the big hack happened over the PlayStation Network. Remember that? Remember that? Remember when the PlayStation Network, and I see you guys' comments. Shout out to Internet of Games. Good to see you, homie. I'm going to get to you guys' comments pretty soon. But remember when that happened and PlayStation 3 really had to win back the hearts of gamers. They really had to show gamers that they were sympathetic to what happened under their watch, that they were going to do better, and that they was going to give gamers better quality, because not only were they dealing with the fact that they got hacked, but the PlayStation was just underperforming. It was doing horrible. Like all that glitz and glamour and shit that they offered people with the cell processor, that fell apart. The cell processor was just an overpriced gimmick in the eyes of gamers. After PlayStation had the audacity back then to tell people you got to get a second fucking job. They said, what? I gotta get a second job to get your piece of shit? When this 360 thing, even though it has the red rings of death, it still plays my games better. I sent it in and Microsoft is still going to fix it and send it back to me. Oh, hell no. PlayStation had to get past all that. And the task put on PlayStation's head was, you got to win back the minds and souls of gamers, and you got to show gamers that you're in it on the games, and you got to show and prove that your system can be superb, can outperform. Those were the things that were put on PlayStation's head when they were in dire straits competitively, and they came through. They first came through with the revitalization of PlayStation, and they came up with PlayStation Plus, where they told gamers, now you're gonna have to pay. We're sorry, we can't offer this for free. We got to take this network shit seriously. So they came up with PlayStation Plus, and what did they also do? They revolutionized the game by giving you free games every month with PlayStation Plus. They changed the whole game because Xbox Live Gold started doing it. And it's still the most successful subscription model when it comes to console games out there. Game Pass can't even fucking compare with its 30 billion games. It can't compare to the numbers of people that are on PlayStation Plus getting those free games. Like I don't even play multiplayer games on PlayStation, and I gotta have PlayStation Plus because of the games. There's a lot of people like that. They showed and proved when the test was put to them. They didn't move the goalposts. They didn't try to buy the way out of it. They first came out with a better online system, and then they came out with a better console to seal the deal. And they haven't looked back since. Now that Microsoft is in this position, they had 8 years of mediocrity, and they were asked to show and prove. And all they were asked, they didn't have to go through the gambit of fire that PlayStation went through. All they were asked was to drop a stellar Halo like you used to. Drop a Halo. It may not be as good as Halo 1 and 2, but it has to be a fucking great Halo. All you gotta do is focus on this one game and make this game a great experience and a long-lasting experience. So what you got to do? One game. And they couldn't do it. And guess what they're doing instead? They're buying other games to bring into that perceived mess of a culture. All you were told was curate one fucking game and make that game stellar because it is the pillar of your system. It is the face of your system. Like when Sony created God of War, the reboot, they weren't under that stress. It was just they had pride to where they went back to the team and said, no, your original effort isn't good enough. Do it again. There wasn't even that amount of pressure for the God of War you've just seen on your screen. There wasn't the same amount of pressure on them as there was for Xbox and Halo Infinite. And they still did a bazillion better job just off of pride. Off of sheer necessity. Xbox was told, this game is pivotal to your future, and they failed. And you want me as a gamer to be comfortable with them gobbling up more companies to bring under that failure of a culture? Fuck out of here. That's why I don't want the deal to go through. I get it. Todd Howard, great director. They fallen off. Bethesda's fallen off a little bit, but still, I don't think that their time is up yet. They still got some creative juices in them. And the other studios that they bought up. But as I've always said, a fish rots from the head. You can have talent, but if there's not great leadership, the talent means nothing. If there's not a great culture, I was watching. I'm gonna get to this point, and then we're gonna move on. I was watching the story of the Dream Team. For those of you that watch American basketball, or even if you don't watch American basketball, go watch that fucking thing. I think it's on Netflix. Yeah, we're talked about it's called the Redeem Team. And for those that don't know the story, Team USA, because we invented basketball over here in the States, was used to always winning basketball in the Olympics. And one year, which over some shady shit, and what we did is to play against other teams, we would always have our college teams, our college players go over and play overseas. We wouldn't even ask our professionals to do it. And one year, some shady shit happened, and the college team lost. And I think it was the first time they ever lost. And it was just embarrassing. But the fact that they were even close enough to lose, even though some shady shit happened that the game was given to the Russians, essentially. America said, no, we can never have this happen again. So they went to Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, all those, the stars, and they started the Dream Team. And of course, the Dream Team went across the league and they destroyed everybody. And NBA teams started destroying people, subsequently after that, until you got to the LeBron era of all stars. And culturally, they were different from even the Jordan era or the Kevin Garnett era, or those other eras that won easily as well. They're different. It's all about, I'm a good player, so I deserve some chips. I deserve some rings, and I'll float around in 95 different teams until I get it because I'm good. I'm going to hook up with 9 different all-stars and we're going to do this. is different from back in the day where those people scratched and clawed and led with blood, sweat to a championship. Those leadership qualities weren't in the new players. So they were getting their ass kicked over, and then the players overseas were just better. They were getting their ass kicked. And it wasn't until Kobe Bryant, who was like an in-betweener. He was in the tail end of the Michael Jordan era, but he ushered in his own era, and he was and towards the tail end of his era began the LeBron James era. He came on the team, and they won again. They won. And before Kobe and them came, everybody was talking about their emotions and how they felt. And LeBron was talking about how, this should be no excuse. There's no excuse. And Kobe said, okay. Kobe he didn't do all that fucking whining. He said, if there's no excuse, get y'all fucking asses in the gym 6 a.m. in the morning with me. Just do the damn thing. It needs to be done. You have talent, but talent alone doesn't surpass strategy. And even though the people overseas were less talented, they applied strategy. They were kicking their ass. So Kobe had the hard work, the strategy, and the perseverance to where we're going to do this. This has to be done. I have too much pride. And that's what Xbox lacks. They call Sony cocky. I've called them cocky before too. But I don't give a fuck about their personality because I ain't inviting none of them motherfuckers to dinner. At the end of the day, one great product. So if you gotta be cocky, fucking fine. I'd rather have your cockiness than a goddamn you walking on stage with a limbo shirt and just kicking the when they expected great games kicking the can down the road each year. Microsoft is not a culture of pride. It is a culture of pride to send Yoshida to that team that was developing God of War and said, no, go back to the drawing board. This isn't good enough. There's not enough pride. And that's just synonymous with this new culture, this new era of doing everything. It's great to have diversity. It's great to be nice. But at some point in time, shit has to fucking get done. And you gotta have pride in what you're putting out there. Not just saying and not just being ecstatic. See, Microsoft seems ecstatic of just obtaining stuff and attempting things and shipping it out. But there has to be pride in that final product. They don't have pride. There's that element of pride missing. Listen to Phil Spencer when he talked to Fortune magazine and they were talking about xCloud. Would you ship that? He said to the guy, that was the product they almost put out there in place of the Series S. There isn't that pride in the end state of the quality of what you're putting out there. I don't want my games under that. Not unless they do better. I don't know how you do better with the same people. But a good sign, or I would say a sign that shows it's not totally over yet, is going to be Starfield. If Phil's should be smart and wise enough and have enough pride to not let Starfield release unless it's stellar. If he can't do what Yoshida does and says, look, this isn't good enough, it doesn't get released. If his observation skills can't look beyond bugs and Starfield isn't a banger, then I think we got our answer. I think we got our answer regardless if they get the ABK deal or not. What's going to happen to the quality of those games while this regime is in power? Fuck no. I don't want anybody souping up the games that I love and I enjoy and taking them under their house. And they have a culture where it lacks pride in the output distributed. Microsoft should be on air, even though I would never expect any company to do this because the stocks would plummet and all this. But just to show some type of contrition, Microsoft should be on air, or they should have been on air for an entire week every day, expressing how disappointed they are in themselves about the state of Halo and how they're going to do better. It's just being brushed under the rug. It's like, we got to meet deadlines. We got to check this box. We got to do this, and we just got to get it out there and it look like a game from the surface. Fuck no. I'll say it one more time. Fuck no. Do I want future experiences curated under that culture? No. So that's why, as a gamer, I don't want this to go through. But the business side of me has to ignore what I want to happen and look at the probability. And the probability is the FTC shit that we're hearing is all rumors to this point. And putting those rumors to the side, it looks like to me that there's a 60-40% chance that this deal is going to go through. Now, another thing that the FTC supposedly were concerned about was how this was going to affect cloud gaming. If there's any silver lining out of this, because look, I'm going to be honest with you. I've did all this ranting and cursing and swearing and all this other shit, yelling, right? Because I don't want Microsoft to have these companies under them. If Microsoft, how they took pride in their product was different, I wouldn't give a fuck. I would cheer it on. I wouldn't care. I mean, I don't like the precedent that it sends still, but I wouldn't be as adamant of it not wanting it to happen because it would be in the hands of a company that understands quality and can omit quality. But a silver lining is not only do they have a poor culture in cultivating good games, but they have a poor culture and following through with the expectations of their products. A prime example is the Xbox Series X. We're heading into year 3 of this product, and they're still splitting hairs with Sony on performance. And there's this big debate about, the recent games that are being rated by Digital Foundry, the resolution is better. I don't want to hear shit about an extra 200p. If you can't maintain those frames, motherfucker, then you lost. You know what I'm saying? 60 frames, these are supposed to be 60 frames per second machines. Y'all have heard me say it over numerous occasions. If you gotta drop the shit down to 1800p and upscale it to 4K from a native 1800p in order to get to 60 frames, then you've won. Because this upscaling and the AI and all that shit that's out there right now is getting so much better that the average eye is not going to know the fucking difference. You can't see that extra 200p that Microsoft gives you. Fuck out of here. needs to be stable frames close to 60 as possible without having to go too low. I would get it if we were talking 1080p. If Sony had to go to 1080p in order to get 60, that's different. But 1800, you're not going to notice the difference between 200p. Stop the bullshit. So the world's most powerful console, the one that I have to spend $500 for, is splitting hairs with the lesser T-flop machine that I got for $400 because I got the digital version. I feel like I made the right decision. But there's failure to provide and reach expectation there. Where again, people want to get mad. Well, Sony said 150. Well, so what? They did what needed to be done. Where was Microsoft? Everybody you want to point fingers here and there. Look at there, except pointing fingers at Microsoft for doing better for you. And that translates heavily to the cloud aspect of this. Fucking Call of Duty now is what? 300 gigabytes to download and play? These games are huge. It would be great if you want to just get into a good game of Call of Duty, kick some ass, and be competitive, if you could play on the cloud. Because these other cloud services have latency low enough that the average gamer can be competitive with. They have great visuals to where the draw distances don't look like oatmeal. They do all that, except for Xbox. Call of Duty would be great on Amazon Luna. Call of Duty would be great on GFN. Call of Duty would be great on Shadow. Hell, it would be great on Boosteroid. But it would be trash in the current state of Xbox, who had to go to Rainway in order to get code provided to help put their fucking service on a web browser. And the product is so trash at the core level that they need a dongle that's too fucking expensive for it to be successful in the market in order to make things to compensate for how trash it is. Like they can't do like everybody else and just put an app on an Android device. That's what everybody else is doing. Microsoft can't do that. They gotta have this AI upscale. They gotta have all this supreme shit that you're getting on the Samsung TVs in order for the app to work. And that's why that dongle is so expensive. It's like the NVIDIA Shield, where the NVIDIA Shield Pro is like the cherry on top if you want extra output. But it's not a necessity to play the other cloud platforms. It's a necessity for Xbox. They need that shit. They need it. It's a failure in reaching expectations, not having enough pride in what you put in people's hands. Just putting something out there just to be in the market. Pathetic. No, I don't want my games under. And so the silver lining is that if the FTC does sue, there might have, or the FTC put pressure on Microsoft, there would probably have to be concessions where some of the bigger games in the Activision Blizzard deal would have to be multi-plat on the cloud. We'll take it. We'll take it. I don't have a hard-on pause for Microsoft to fail. To do better. We really need them to do better. I'm not one of these people that believe that Microsoft is better. It's better. Gaming is better served with Microsoft going. I don't believe that at all. I know some people have a dedication to Sony that big. They believe that shit. Not me. I don't. We need them to do better. We need them to take more pride in their shit. But this is horrible. The most talk I remember because I made videos on it. Microsoft is going to revolutionize gaming with cloud gaming. They were doing the most talking, and their shit is the worst at the raw level. The only thing that's helping Microsoft and really elevating it at times, even over some of these other platforms, is the fact that they're embedded in the Azure servers. Them being embedded in the Azure servers actually gives it an advantage because of the stability of the Azure servers and the footprint in so many places that they are. There are some people that will tell you, oh, for me, xCloud actually works better than this service. That's because there are a lot more Azure servers out there. The servers are much more stable, and they may be far away from another server of another platform. See, helps them. But if you're within the same reasonable vicinity of that platform and another platform server and an xCloud server, my God, may the Lord have mercy on your soul. That shit is trash. So I don't want them to. I would prefer the deal not to go through on those under those circumstances, because I don't want those games going under that toxic culture, because at some point in time they're going to get lesser and lesser and weaker. Secondly, I don't like the idea of the games being hamstrung to the weakest cloud platform. So I would hope that if they do get them, there are concessions made to where these games can come on GFN, Boosteroid, Luna, and who else is around. You know what I mean? Because Microsoft will still make money. But their thing is that they did these deals because they wanted Amazon and Google to say, well, why even bother? They're going to suck up all these games, and we're not going to have the big games on our platforms. That's not going to help us. They done sucked them up. And Google done already dropped out for other reasons. They just dropped out. And Amazon Luna, we don't know what the state of them is, if they're just cutting back or if this is just a precursor to something with them. So it's just them and GFN and possibly Boosteroid. We'll see what Boosteroid does, but it's mainly Microsoft and GFN right now. And GFN, they told you, we're not trying to substitute hardware with this cloud stuff. We want to be in here to fill a gap. Our hardware is always going to be our main business, but we see an opportunity here to reach more gamers. You know what I mean? And if things change to where the hardware starts to dip and the software side of things start to rise, then they already got a platform that's embedded and they can just rock and roll with. But their number one strategy is just to use their cloud gaming just to supplement where they can't get their hardware too. So really, as far as the future of cloud gaming as a standalone product, it would fall on the shoulders of Microsoft, because ultimately, I don't care what they say. This is ultimately what they want, is they want cloud. If y'all motherfuckers would settle for the crappy 1080p that you get online, you know what I'm saying, with xCloud, and everybody start going there, they would stop selling their consoles yesterday. If 90% of y'all start doing it, they would stop selling their consoles yesterday. They don't fall for that bullshit. Oh, we want choice. They're trying to saturate as many markets as they can to see which one is the most successful for the one for them to double down on, or for the ones for them to double down on. They got to stay in the console market. But every time you mention the console and the price and, you know, how it integrates into Microsoft, he said, you talk about the console, to Phil, his lips curl up. He would rather not have to deal with the console. And if you motherfuckers were to settle for that shitty ass 1080p that you get from xCloud at mass, enough to where they can stop selling consoles and still be profitable and grow from there, they would do it. They would do it. Microsoft wants to stop. I mean, they've said, I ain't got to sell you a console. They went from, I ain't got to sell you a console to, well, now cloud gaming is only good enough for if you're away from your console. But that's not what they wanted. But look at what they wanted, which was cloud gaming to start to dominate. Not immediately, but slowly but surely start to dominate. Look at that expectation and look at what they actually put out. You can't tell me that they put enough pride. Maybe that's a better way to explain it. That they put enough pride in what they put out there. And maybe it requires for people to be terminated, key people to be terminated, and other key people that have enough pride in the output to be brought in. I just get this feeling that diversity has trumped performance. And I'm not saying that you can't be diverse and be powerful and be successful and garner results. That's a lot of problems with these societies that are not diverse. They just pick somebody with a nice smile and a nice demeanor that knows just enough. No. There are diverse candidates out there that can definitely kill it. I know, because I'm one of them. I've killed it wherever I've been at. You could check off that box for diversity and make sure that these people are steadfast and they have pride in the results that they lay out. So that's the only concession from this that would be a silver lining is for you cloud gamers that want to access Call of Duty on the cloud. I mean, at first it'll be sweet and people will whistle and celebrate and be like, woo, I can play Call of Duty on xCloud. But then after a couple of days of matches, you're going to see the disadvantage that you're at, unless you just want to play with bots. You'll see the disadvantage that you're at. I can't see. Oh, he killed me again. I swore I pressed the button. What happened? And then you're going to realize that how much of a waste it is for it to be there. And then you're going to say, shit, I wish the shit was on GFN or Boosteroid or Luna. This is bullshit. I can't win a match. I've been playing this for 30 straight days. I have not won one match. So those are my thoughts. To recap, my thoughts about the whole FTC thing, the silver lining thing is, it's all rumor. All of it is rumor. The fact that the FTC is going to jump on their case and stomp on their neck, it's all rumor. All we know is CMA, they're the big monkey wrench right now. They got to get past CMA. All this other stuff is entertainment and fluff until the shit happens. But I will tell you this, that because here's the thing, it was 60-40 in my mind before we even knew about this. So this doesn't change the trajectory or anything. It just gives you something to gossip about. It just gives me a show topic. Nothing has changed. 60-40. And we'll see what happens. 60-40 in Microsoft's favor. But I ain't gonna lie. For full transparency, I don't hope that this deal goes through. It'll be horrible for gaming. Not only will it set a bad precedent, whether Microsoft is a great company or not, it sets a bad precedent. I don't want all of the games all of the publications or the developers that are responsible for the future of gaming to be under like just a handful of people. I don't want that. Want there to be diversity of thought, because whenever you have that, there's redundancies. Like we saw the other day where Embracer Group got rid of, because Saints Row didn't reach expectations or whatever, they got rid of half of that group and merged them with another group or some shit. There's redundancies made and synergies made. And when that happens, there's less people trying to do innovative stuff, and people are just duplicating, regurgitating the shit that's making money. And gaming doesn't grow this way. Gaming is an art, so risks have to be taken. I get it, say, the billion-dollar business or whatever it is, but it's an art. Risks have to be taken in order for it to be pushed forward. If you're not willing to take risks that could gobble up a lot of money, then gaming is not going to move forward. You have to take risks. When these companies get all these people under one helm, the least amount of risks they're willing to take, because they got to make money. They got all these people on the payroll, Social Security tax that they got to pay on these people, unemployment insurance. Then unemployment insurance gets higher and higher the more people that they have. So that's more pressure on a game to hit financial cues than it is for them to test the waters to be innovative. When one game doesn't hit a particular financial cue, there is no let's try again. Fuck it, you're chopped. So now the groups get smaller and smaller and smaller to start focusing on just the games that make money and just duplicating those out. We don't want that scenario. So even if Microsoft had a better culture, I still wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that. I don't want Sony I don't want anybody to just be buying up the games that were normally multi-plat and more spread out. It's always better for these companies to be spread out. That being said, I got to face reality and the likelihood that it's still going to happen. If it is going to happen, let these games at least be multi-plat. So not only does the game quality degrade, but then I'm forced to go to maybe the least ideal place to play it. Now, I don't like that prospect. All right. So with that said, let's go to the chat. Have a goddamn layout on your stream with the song is played. I can't do it with this one, unfortunately. Hold on, let me see. I'll check and see. I've tried it before because I have a layout somewhere else where I can play this. I can have the songs out. But let's go to our chat. Cold Blood Sensei is going crazy. He says, what is that song called, Mose? He said, he also said, have a goddamn layout on your stream with the song. Like I said, well, it doesn't work for what I'm using to play music, unfortunately. Let's go back to the chat. Oh, Geek to Sneak says Twitch only. Yeah, brother. This is NRO podcast, man. We're talking mainstream games. This isn't cloud gaming. This is mainstream games that we do over here on this channel. Cloud dosage is my other channel over there, but we're affiliated over here. So when I do content over here, brother, it has to be it has to be exclusive here for a few days, and then later I can put it over on YouTube. So that's why you see on Wednesdays or Thursdays, you'll usually see this show hit over on YouTube as a rebroadcast over there, because there's people that are on YouTube that don't like Twitch and vice versa. So we rebroadcast it over there. But yeah, man, you have to you have to go and check us out over there. And it takes a couple of days for it to happen. So yeah, if you want to catch it live, you got to join us over here. This is something. This is in people. It says, and people like me, I bought a PlayStation and I'll buy a month or two here or there to rent the value out of Starfield, then back to my soulful PlayStation Studio games. Yeah, I mean, if Starfield is good, that's a plus for Xbox. Xbox needs that. That will definitely be a plus. That'll not only be a system seller, but it'll be a seller of Game Pass. And they need that. They need games internally that will bring people to Game Pass, especially if this ABK deal doesn't go through, then Starfield has to be. And that's why I said Starfield would then be bigger than Halo. Like, they're not going to be able to weasel out of that. Starfield would have to be stellar. If this ABK deal gets blocked, Starfield would have to be stellar. It has to be like 93 and above. I would say 91 and above. It would have to be 91 and above. Maybe not 92 and above. Metacritic, it would have to, you know what I'm saying? It would have to get the accolades across the board. You know, it has to be no doubt that, oh, this is a kick-ass game. And Microsoft can now harbor and curate a kick-ass game. Even if they're doing it on the tail end when it comes to Starfield, it doesn't matter. They got to get a victory somewhere. And I don't, and because if Starfield doesn't do it, I don't see any other game that's coming out for them that's going to do it. I don't think Redfall. Now, I just don't like that team. I don't think Redfall does it. Only game I like from them is Deathloop. I don't think Redfall does it. I don't know what else is supposed to come out in 2023. I've seen like logos and shit. Nothing has popped out to me. There was rumors that State of Decay 3 might come out in 2023. Now there's rumors that they've had to hire an outside group to help them. Like, no, I don't see that either. So, since Microsoft Game Pass is an auxiliary service to the PlayStation ecosystem, he says, wait till this deal goes through. You're going to see a Sony that is cocky and petty, their worst nightmare. Yeah, I think that no, Sony is playing their hands to their vest. They're not saying shit. They're willing to not even have a thing. Sony is going to see what happens, how the chips may fall, while Microsoft is playing its entire hand. What this deal does definitely make Microsoft way more competitive. There's no doubt about that. Makes them way more competitive, at least on paper. We have to see over time again how they curate these games, how they manage these studios, what the output is afterwards. But I mean, we're talking about some major franchises, Diablo, Overwatch. I mean, it's going to be nuts. But I still think figures had Microsoft either barely still in third place behind Tencent and Sony, or barely taking second place over Sony. I think. But it definitely makes them more competitive. And Sony's aware of that, and that's why they're playing their cards close to the vest. And I've seen some silly arguments out here that Sony blew its load. They don't have any games in 2023. Sony is king of surprise announcements. I feel sorry for anybody that participates in the console war and actually believes that and puts that out there in the internet, that Sony blew its load. No. That's why Sean Layton isn't there anymore. Sean Layton isn't there specifically because Sony had such a great 2018, and in comparison to the precedent that was set in 2018, had such a porous 2019. That's why he got fired. And that's how Jim Ryan and his team was able to win over the board and slither in. There's no way that Sony is going to has a slow 2023. You can't fall for that. They're just playing everything, and then we know you can't in the same breath say, "Oh, Sony is so concerned that they're holding back their showcases." You can't say that, but then actually believe on the same token that they have nothing to show. If they're holding back showcases, guess what? I bet you them showcases for shit in 2023. It doesn't make any sense. And people end up saying stuff that stays out there for the barometer of time and get upset when they get the L on it. Just slow your horses. Take your victories where they are at. Do not be a fortune teller. Trust me, I know. As someone who didn't hit the utmost due diligence on Google, I looked at what a reasonable company would do. I didn't look at what Google would do. After seeing what Google would do, and then after the fact saying, "Oh shit, these mugs really don't they really don't, they're not faithful to anything." Holy cow. Trust me, I know. So yeah, it doesn't make sense to say Sony is holding back stuff because they're so worried about the impressions with the CMA, and then to say they're not going to have anything for 2023. Then what are they holding back then? It can't be both. It's got to be one or the other. People got to use their heads. Internet of Games says Callisto Protocol. Callisto Protocol is a step forward in an impressive show from a new studio. The Callisto Protocol is very first outing for a new studio. The players are enjoying it, and that's what you need for longevity, not the IG and seal of approval. With that said, Internet of Games, I'm glad you said that. I think that's a perfect segue to our next point. So, let me see if I can find the tweets. Let me see. Callisto Protocol review. So I'm looking through this right now. I couldn't find the tweet before the show, but I do have this tweet right here. Let me show you something. This is from Benji Sales, and he has like review scores for Callisto Protocol, and the Metacritic is 74. The OpenCritic is 74. Places like Game Informer, GameSpot, IGN gave it anywhere between a 5 to a 7. I want to go here to some of the quoted tweets. There are a bunch of quoted tweets here. Let's see here. GamePro is still a thing. I'm trying to find. There was one tweet from somebody where they were like, oh, well, that's a shame because Sony sent 150 developers to this and people were hating on the game and all this other stuff. And come to find out, once it got in the hands of the people, they enjoyed it. Like everybody's looking at these reviewers and the shit that's being said because you saw people playing the game, then they stopped it. You saw YouTubers playing the games and then stopping it and then deleting it off their hard drive, and doing all types of shit and giving this game a go, work after work today. I'm going to tell you this much. Yeah, but you're seeing a lot of people saying they're still getting it regardless. People are playing it and they're enjoying it. My homie Nethel said that it's his game of the year. So I'm really considering picking it up. I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted to play it on GFN, just because it would, the way that people talk about the game, and how great it looks and how it is. But despite these scores, I wanted to be able to play it and I wanted to be able to play it and put all the bells and whistles out on GFN, but it wasn't meant to be because it's not coming out on GFN. The amazing thing about it though is Stadia could have something to do with that. When you go to look up Callisto Protocol and associate it to your platform, Stadia was listed there. So that was another game along with Need for Speed, whatever this new Need for Speed is, another game that was coming to Stadia. So that's crazy. But again, it's Google. With that said, yeah, you just look at all these retweets from Benji Sales, and people are just like, you know what? I don't care. I'm still copping it. I'm still playing it. And I don't trust these reviewers. And they went and copped it and they played it and they like it. They love it. Like I said, Nethos, who's one, I do like his, I'm more aligned to how he likes games, except for Halo. He's a big Halo fan. I'm not big on Halo. I mean, even Halo in his heydays. The only Halo that I really enjoyed was Halo 3. I'm not a big Halo person. But that being said, I think we have a situation now to where game reviewers and even YouTubers are trying to follow a wave. And I'm gonna explain that in a second. Hold on one second. So here's what I mean by that. These YouTubers, they see a game and they get a hold of scores, and they get a hold of expectations that are being set. And then they just, and whichever expectations create the biggest amount of buzz and clicks, then they follow that. As a content creator, when I go and I put my shit out there, it's not just about me uploading a video, coming up with a title, even just coming up with a thumbnail, and then that's it. That's not it. There are other tools out there that help me regulate what taglines, how to phrase my title, where to retweet, who to retweet it to, all this other stuff. There are other things tools that are out there that show me what are the most successful ways of getting my video that's of this subject matter out there, and what's creating the biggest buzz. And that tool is considered an SEO score by journalists, and then a YouTube ranking. TubeBuddy, if you're a content creator, they have tools out there that do the same thing. So what happens is, as I'm creating a video, I go look up what's the tagline or what's the biggest buzzworthy protocol, for no pun intended, for that particular subject. And even if I like a game, let's just say if I liked Callisto Protocol and I thought the game was the shit, if I'm a YouTuber and I'm eating off that YouTube money, I'm following the wave. I'm following the buzzwords. I'm following what's like Callisto. Like if I go to TubeBuddy, I may see things like Callisto Protocol bugs and Callisto Protocol, I'll type in Callisto Protocol and buzzwords will come up there, mediocre, whatever. That's giving me my script on how I'm supposed to talk publicly about this game. It is based off of the popular conglomerates, the IGNs, you know what I'm saying, and so forth. They set the precedent because they have mass distribution and a massive footprint, and they're getting clicks, and everything that's dealing with the internet is all about waves when it comes to getting attention or eyeballs on your content. When it comes to content, it's all about waves. So if I want to get in on that wave, I type it in and I follow what everybody else is putting out there, put my own little spritz on it for it to be separate enough, but not go too far from the wave. And that's what happens. So here's why you see the scores first. And then you started seeing these YouTubers with these stunts, deleting it off their hard drive and all this other shit. I too am disappointed with Callisto Protocol. But when you, the gamer, get it in your hands, it's completely different from what you feel the game is, and you're not connected to these sentiments. And here's what I'm telling you, gamer. These motherfuckers don't represent you no more. They don't. Not even the fucking YouTubers. Stop listening to these people. They don't represent you anymore. When it comes to these games, they have their class of standards that they've developed for themselves for whatever reason. And they don't connect to you, the average gamer, anymore. They don't. They're just fancy with words. They set up narratives for their own agenda. And it's not connecting to you. Look, I know you guys don't want it, but look, Stadia, even though it was a failure, retail-wise, it's not a failure overall. You guys will find out. The tech is not a failure. The tech is going to get in the right hands. But the retail product Stadia, it being a failure, And people looked at me and said, MM2K, you put so much time into promoting that product and, giving Google the benefit of the doubt and all of the stuff. You really wasted a lot of time. No, I didn't. If one thing that Stadia has showed me, the most important thing that I've learned from this process, and when I talk to everybody that's done Stadia content, whether they're still sympathetic to Google, they hate Google, whatever, the common theme is that the biggest attribute that we learn from covering Stadia is that the media is a bunch of fucking liars. Liars more than we've ever known. I mean, the shit that they said about the the reason why the platform couldn't reach a smidgen of mainstream success is because people lied about it. And these are the people that lied about it. They lied about what it could do. They did it from day one, what it was capable of. And I'm not saying that Google isn't culpable, because Google sure as hell didn't put enough promotion, didn't put enough right promotion, didn't talk elaborately enough about what they expected and what was going on. They're not absolved. But the main reason why that this couldn't get saturation in a level that was successful for a cloud service, which would be like 5% of the 1 or 2% is successful for a cloud service, because the market just isn't there for it. The concept is still like weird and to a lot of people icky. You know what I'm saying? So that's understandable. But the success that Google was looking for was like around 5%, maybe 10%, which is crazy based upon how much effort they put into promoting the product. But with that being said, they could have reached the 5% if these motherfuckers didn't lie about it. They lied so much. And here you had one person that said, you know what? The product, people didn't trust Google. And it was a loop that we created as reporters by saying you shouldn't trust them. So people didn't trust them and the product failed. So we created the scenario that we wanted anyway, right? I mean, the shit that they said was so way off base, it was ridiculous. And now after the fact that the product is dead and gone as they want it, they want to be able to write stories. They want to do the obituary of the product and make it sound like that they're these philosophers and they understood what was going on. And now nobody wants to talk to them. Like, you've seen a couple of stories out here, but nobody really wants to talk to them to really give them any meat, because they're fucking liars. One thing that the Stadia community can say, based even post the failure of the retail product, is they have the best education on the mainstream gaming media. The mainstream gaming media is hideous. I never knew how bad it was until I started covering the product. It is horrible. And now that Stadia is gone, and a lot of us have reverberated back to doing mainstream gaming or whatever we're doing, it's the same old shit. Except they actually get paid to do a little bit more research on this end, so they know a little bit more, and they've learned a little bit more. They learned enough to fool you guys into putting up the fancy words or whatever to make it sound like that they know what they're talking about. Then again, you have the YouTubers who, after their influence has happened and hit the airwaves, they're just following the trends. They're using TubeBuddy or whatever to see when I put in Callisto Protocol, what is the reaction I get back? Callisto Protocol buggy, Callisto Protocol disappointment, well, then I gotta talk about this game like I hate it. Let me go check out this person or this one or that one and see what they're saying. And I gotta piggyback off of that and put my own little flair on there. It's just an endless cycle of non-informative bibble babble that you guys have to get smarter and stop giving these motherfuckers the clicks. You can't, if you're mad about what's being said about Callisto Protocol, you're the fucking blame. I'm sorry. Look, I took my L on Stadia. I didn't do my homework on Google as far as their level of dedication. I take that. You gotta take your L's. You make these companies and you keep them employed. You keep them doing the same shit to you over and over again. I don't go to any of these motherfuckers. None of them. You do it to yourselves. Why are they saying this about Callisto Protocol? Because you want them to lie. Every time you go to their website and you click on their bullshit, you pay them to lie to you. Be mad at yourself. They're liars. They have an agenda. Why would they sit there? Maybe they just have bad taste and they can't connect to you as a gamer, but they'll lie and they'll say stuff like, oh, this is this, and the atypical gamer won't get into this. That's a fucking lie, because the atypical gamers are loving this game. I'm not saying they're saying it's the next God of War reincarnate, but they're liking this game way more than the reviewers are. The reviewers are lying. When I say that they're lying, they're acting like they're talking on your behalf. They can connect to you, and they can't connect to you. They can't anymore. I don't know. Maybe it's because God of War got so many accolades. PlayStation got so many accolades. And PlayStation, Sony, because they sent 150 people to help on the development of the game or whatever. Maybe they felt like they had to hammer on the game to seem neutral. Maybe they were feeling pressure from Xbox fanboys or people in the Xbox community, and they had to hammer on this game. I don't know what the MO is, but that starts it. Their disconnect from you starts it. Then what finishes it up is the YouTuber, who then utilizes these tools, and all these tools do is measure what they're saying and tells them which way they need to go. And that's all the YouTuber is doing. Don't y'all see that more often than not? That now these YouTubers are just as fake as fuck as these journalists. Like, now it's harder to distinguish the journalists from the YouTubers because they're all saying the same thing. That's why. You got to stop this. If you don't like it, you have to stop it. Stop clicking on them. I can't tell you the last time I've been on GameSpot. I can't tell you the last time I clicked on a Game Informer article. The last time I clicked on a Game Informer article is when that cornball had something to say about a game coming out in September for Stadia, and he lied because he did have the accurate games that were coming out for that month, and he just brushed it off like, so what? I lied. And somebody sent me the article, and me and him went back and forth or whatever. But I that was the only time, because they were showing me what he said. GamePro, I can't tell you when I've been on these places. I've been on these places for years. And my gamer knowledge is just fine. My gamer knowledge is just fine enough to where I can come on here on a regular basis and I can still educate you. So if that isn't proof that you don't need to go to these places, if you're mad at the backwards ass take on Callisto Protocol as it appears, and you've gone to IGN, GamePro, GameSpot, and all these other, if you go there and you regularly get content there, then you did it to yourself. Hopefully that's understood. Let's go back to our comments. Internet of Game says, nobody wastes a second on Stadia. It set up a range of content creators and writers for the coming decade. Yep. They didn't waste their time in understanding it until post-mortem, and they made a bunch of bull. And again, y'all know me. Y'all have heard me. I've been on Stadia's ass about how they're doing the refunds. I've been on Stadia's ass on how they just dumped the retail product this way, and now they're going to leave this big ass void between when a lot of these disenfranchised gamers can play something else. They're scrambling. We wanted to help them, but we can't because Stadia just makes it difficult for not Stadia, but Google just makes to do anything sensible when it comes to the refunds or whatever. So now there's going to be this big ass gap to where these gamers are not going to have anywhere else to go to come January 18th. And then whenever the technology is going to be utilized from these other people. And that's not even etched in stone. We don't even know if that's going to fucking happen. So there's going to be this long ass void, and you have gamers that are going to be left out of it. So I've been on Google's ass about that. But that does not admonish the lies that the journalist told about the product. That had really the biggest effect on it being misunderstood, underrated, all that shit. I mean, and I found it funny that when Stadia died, then you started having these motherfucker reviewers and people coming out, it's dead. I was really starting to like it. Yeah, what a coincidence you were starting to like it when it was fucking, when it died. You liked it. But you were going with the wave. You're a fucking liar. They're all liars. And it's one thing if they did it about Stadia, which was sad for the gamers that had benefited. It was sad for them, but it's gone now. Okay, it's gone. There's no reason to cry over spilled milk. But now the platforms that most gamers rely on, you're lying about those. You're disconnected from the community about those. Like, what the fuck? They're doing this because you're helping them do this. Again, I can't tell you. It's been years. I don't even know what the fucking website looks like. Like, I couldn't tell you. It's been years that I've seen anything besides the GameSpot logo. I haven't been on that site in years. Game Informer, I don't know. No, even IGN. No. PC Gamer. I may have read one article from them. No, and they gave it a 79 out of 100. I'm just saying. These publications with these horrible attributes and these tendencies, you can't click on them. That's how they get paid. You can't reward them for their bad behavior. What needs to happen is stop paying them by clicking on them. And then they'll go, oh, well, we're not getting the clicks. And they'll do the surveys. They'll go to the people and ask what's going on. And you tell them you're fake as fuck. You're fake, and the shit that you say does not connect to us as a gamer. Do better and get reviews and people that connect to our community. We don't want to hear your elitist views on this and that. Get people that connect to us. Because then that kills the cycle. Then they're not saying dumb shit that then filters into these tools, because a YouTuber is going to keep using the tools. But y'all think the YouTuber is the truth tellers, the justice pursuers? Fuck no. They try to make some money. So they're going to use the tools that gauge what is creating, or for the most buzz that's out there, what are the key fundamentals in those articles or whatever. And if you type in Callisto Protocol and the key fundamentals is Callisto Protocol buggy or Callisto Protocol unfinished or Callisto, then that's what they're going with. So then in turn, there's two things you can do with the YouTubers. Number one, kill the results of that being all the shitty stuff by not clicking on these sites and forcing these sites to represent more of the community. But secondly, stop living off of what these YouTubers say. Besides entertainment, like, okay, somebody has to inform me if I'm going to be following them and listening to them. First and foremost, they have to inform me. If you're not informing me, I don't even want to waste you. I don't even want you wasting my fucking time. I can find any crumb bum to entertain me. I got comedians to entertain me over shit. I can listen to a comedian say some funny, goofy shit and not pay attention to his perspective in life or his or her perspective in life. They're just entertaining me. I already got comedians that I listen to that make me laugh and giggle. I need somebody that educates me first. Then everything else that they do on the periphery falls, it's like icing on the cake. But if you're not educating me, I don't have time for you. I don't have time to sit there and listen to you talk for hours. So instead of getting your brains filled with a whole bunch of jargon that is bogus, start finding YouTubers that actually talk sense and even if you're listening to the choir, like if you're a PlayStation or Xbox fanboy, find a YouTuber that's an Xbox or PlayStation fanboy that spits nothing but facts. It's going to be hard because they're a fanboy. But damn it. Like, I'll give you two examples. On the PlayStation side, I love listening to Porter Rock. Because what Porter Rock does is he lays out the facts. And then he gives you his interpretation of the facts. I've never witnessed Porter Rock misrepresent the facts. I've seen Porter Rock maybe give a synopsis of his own personal synopsis. Oh, that ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen. And then we bet him. Bet. But I've never seen Porter Rock misrepresent the facts. I've seen him, maybe have what I feel is a bad take on the facts, but not misrepresent them. He's a PlayStation fanboy. On the flip side of that, Randolph Thor. Again, I've never seen him misrepresent the facts. There are things that he's even said that didn't come to fruition yet, and I can relate to that. Didn't come to fruition yet, and come to fruition later, and he goes to people and rubs in their faces and says, aha, as he should. But I've never seen Randall misrepresent the facts. He may have a take on the facts that I may not agree with, but I've never, you know what I'm saying? Facts are important. Randall is Randall Thor 19 is entertaining. Porter Rock is entertaining. You see what I'm saying? But I prioritize facts over everything. All right? It's important. Internet of Game says these people are the same shits today as they were when they were slandering Stadia. Yeah, and us. Absolutely. Hey, yo, we got Sean, 87 in the house. What's up, brother? Good to see you. So I don't think many of us are clicking, but they are such penetration into social media. No, people are clicking. It ain't us. It's not us here, because if you're listening here, then you know better. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have the largest crowds, and that's okay. I've always been okay with that. Because we're a peculiar few. Like if you're listening here, that means you have an elevated thought process to where the average shit doesn't penetrate. The average bullshit. Because I don't play the average bullshit games here. Like even though I favor PlayStation now over Xbox, I'm not going to sit here and play these games. Xbox needs to die and needs to go away. And I'm not going there. That's crazy shit to me. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna call it out. I'm here for the gamer. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for the gamer. I'm not here to promote a company. I'm here for a gamer. So if a company is doing a fantastic job satisfying gamers, that's who's going to get my star of approval. But if you are fucking up for gamers, that's who's going to get my ire. So that's why I handle things the way that I handle. I'm not for a platform. just to be for a platform. It's based upon what you do for the gamer. But because of that, I have a small, and it's always been like that. I've had content creators come to me and say, oh man, you're one of my favorite content creators. I watch you in the background, this, that, and the other. Because they can't, I don't get the seal of approval because a lot of people want to play that game. They're like all in on one thing or the other. They're all in and they'll occasionally jab something, towards that thing. You know what I mean? But they're all in. And I don't play that game. Like the closest I came to playing that game was with Stadia because there were so many lies about the platform that we wanted the truth to prevail over the lies. But I'm not in it for a company. Like, truth be told, the people at Stadia were great, but they didn't fuck with me all like that. They didn't fuck with me all like that at all, really. They didn't. So I wasn't doing it to get accolades from them. They didn't fuck with me, and I didn't lose any sleep over it. I didn't give a fuck. As long as they were doing right by the community, we don't have to be chummy and buddy, and we ain't gotta like each other. You do your job. I'm gonna do mine and make sure that the people know the truth. Some people may think, oh, MM2K like Stadia loved you. No, they didn't. No, they did not. That love was lost a long time ago. But because again they were servicing the people, I didn't worry. That didn't concern me. I wasn't in it to get anything from anybody. I was in it. I was really fighting for a cause, which people get educated on something that could benefit them. So, but yeah, they're just a bunch of liars, man. Do I not entertain you? Bunch of liars. We see God of War just dropped. Shout out to CGD in the chat. Brother, if you can, drop a link to your channel, your Twitch channel, wherever else you're at. Drop a link to all that so people can find your great content. God of War just dropped version 3.0 on my PS5 right now. I don't know anything about it. It just popped up. Yeah, I'm going to be playing some God of War tomorrow on here. So definitely be there for part of that. Also, make sure that you're following me on YouTube at youtube.com/MM2K Gaming for all of our God of War shorts. We got a bunch of them. They're very popular. Very popular. Like I said, you can catch the rebroadcast of this on Wednesday. Okay, it's past 3 o'clock. I'm supposed to be done by now, but we got one last story, which is, let me see if I can find it. Steam Deck giveaway game awards. Okay, there we go. All right. Let's do this. Let's put this up here. For those of you who haven't seen this is fantastic, man. I love shit like this. Oh, oop. There we go. Let me get this comment off the screen. Yeah, I'm registered. I mean, you see MM2K up there registered. I still got 30. I wonder what I'm gonna do with my $30. I forgot after I bought the I went and got my kids got me some gift cards. Anywho, the Game Awards Steam Deck giveaway. In celebration of the Game Awards Steam Deck now being in stock and gaming in general, we will be giving away one 512 gigabyte Steam Deck every minute during the live airing of the Game Awards. Enter for your chance to win. And I'm going to put that link to Steam Deck giveaway. I'm putting that link in the chat right now. So go ahead, y'all, when this is over, Go click on that so you can be part of the giveaway. It'd be great to win one of these things. I at first I was like, I don't want one. And I wouldn't buy one, but we're looking to do a particular type of content, and SteamDeck is growing in popularity. So I definitely would like to have SteamDeck in the portfolio to be able to try games there and see how things are. My brother has one and he loves it. He loves a SteamDeck. So this is great, man. And the Game Awards have come a long way. I would say that it used to just be a Sony fest, and people were like, well, it still is. Well, no. I mean, they got Phil Spencer on the board. They've done things to level it out. It's just, I mean, you got to be real. The reality of it is Microsoft just has to put the games out there. They've admitted it themselves a couple of months ago, where they said that they don't have the quality. But then they said that in 2019. It's like every 2 years they come out, or every 3 years they come out and say, oh, well, you know, we want our games to be as good as PlayStation. When we gonna see it? So they really didn't push shit out there. They tore it up on the developer side last year. Nobody thought that was rigged, right? They tore it up on the developer side last year, and they, rolled a goose egg this year. Hopefully 2023 not only has to be a great year for Xbox, and what makes it a great year off the bat is if the ABK deal gets finalized. But if that ABK deal doesn't get finalized, then the final hope is Starfield. Starfield has to be like 92 or above Metacritic, because then that's going to have a ripple effect that we kind of talked about earlier. It has to get a 92 or above Metacritic, and along with the accolades. It'll be a system seller, it'll be a Game Pass seller, you know what I'm saying? It'll be a huge boost to Game Pass, and then people will say, okay, now Xbox has a juggernaut in their hands, the same way that PlayStation has a juggernaut in their hands with Naughty Dog or Santa Monica or whoever else you want to name. Now Xbox has at least one juggernaut in their hands. And we can take their game curation seriously. But that's it, man. Yeah, go ahead. Get access to this. Go ahead and click that link. And go ahead and register for one, man. It ain't nothing better than free 99. So, all right, folks. Well, that's it for today's show. Sean 87, let's go to the chat real quick. Sean said it's like a grown-up Switch. PC games prices and better graphics and experiences. Yeah, I don't have a Switch. There are games on the Switch I would love to play. I just don't have it. I'm going to be honest with you. Cloud gaming has spoiled me to the point to where, here's a true story. So even though I bring in the pot of finances, even though numbers is what I do, I don't control the financial distribution in my family. I come from a family of nerds, where my uncle and my brother and my cousins, we were kind of like all under my uncle, and he was a big time nerd, and he wasted a lot of money on gadgets and stuff like that. It was so bad for him that he stayed with my grandmother for years. God bless his soul. My uncle passed away in, I think he was 50. But my uncle stayed with my grandmother. My uncle was intelligent. They labeled him like, I forgot what they said. I don't know what the score was, but they said he was intelligent enough to go to like the top schools in the world. And all he wanted to do was just fiddle. He didn't want to do the work. He didn't want to do the work. He just wanted to play at his own leisure with gadgets and shit like that. We're talking about the late 70s and 80s and stuff like that. Shit that was coming out. So my grandmother was elderly. She moved up into like a high rise, and my uncle stayed with her in the high rise. Smart enough to like have a condo if he wanted, you know what I'm saying? But he just stayed with my grandmother in a high rise. My grandmother passed away, and he said, okay, well, now I got to do something for myself, and became like an engineer with the government, and then start making a whole bunch of money. So we learned from my uncle, which poisoned our minds. Because when we were hanging around my uncle, it was always gadgets first. It was always gadgets and experiments first. So we always had the latest gadgets and shit like that, and we experiment first. So we would blow our money on gadgets. And I had a problem with that up until a few short years ago. I'm just buying shit left and right. My wife was trying to buy this house. She likes to put a lot of money down. I was just blowing through the money, just spending money. And my wife said, look, if you don't want me to leave you and wring your neck in the process, you have to stop. And I said, okay. And then cloud gaming came. And cloud gaming showed me that you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money to enjoy gaming. Like when you take all the money and all the stuff out of it to buying the storages and buying the machines, and you just make it about the games itself and the access to the games, that's really at the fruit of the enjoyment. Like a lot of us put a lot of superficial enjoyment in being at the midnight release or buying this console and doing an unveiling and unwrapping and all that other stuff. And when I started doing cloud gaming, and there was none of that to worry about, finding storage, finding the coolest looking storage that can, go with your TV and shit and go with your console. When I got past all that, and it was just about the pure game, that raised the most excitement for me, because then when it became about the pure game, then I thought about, okay, how else can I optimize my experience the best way without having to go through too much hassle? Was able to do it. And that was a euphoria for me. There was no better feeling than to be able to just easily get into my game and get the best experience possible from it, and not having to go sit and tweak things, like I would do when I would natively play PCs and all that other stuff. No better feeling. So cloud gaming spoiled me to where I realized that, no, I don't have to buy a new TV every 6 months, every 3 to 6. Me and my wife go to Sam's Club. I'm buying a new 4K TV. We had so many and I finally got rid of most of them. I still got one 4K monitor that I got to send to Peter Cotton, my homie Peter Cottontail. I had TVs in the bathroom. I had TVs in the kitchen. It was ridiculous. Cloud gaming showed me I don't have to sit there and waste that money. It's just about the games. So that's why now that's why my brother has a Steam Deck, and he's shocked that I don't have one. He's like, are you short on cash? I'm like, no, cloud gaming got us out of that funk, that nerd spending up all the cash funk that our uncle put us into. What got me out of it. So I don't have one yet. And I'm not saying that I'm against the Steam Deck. I just won't buy one at this moment. However, Steam, if you want to give me one for free to change my mind on how much of a necessity it is, I'm here. I'm here, baby. And if I win one, then yeah, definitely I'll utilize it. But that's just my take. All right. That's it from your boy. I appreciate all of y'all. Thank y'all for coming through. We had a hell of a show. The participation continues to grow. Thank you for the followers. Thank you for the subscribers. Again, if you have Amazon Prime, you can support this platform by utilizing your Amazon Prime free sub that they give you. And you can gift us a sub through Amazon Prime to no extra charge. So hit us up. We appreciate it. We thank you so much for the support. And we'll see you next time. Tomorrow I'll be doing some God of War streaming here. And then Wednesday we're going to have the Spoils of Anime podcast that returns. Until then, y'all have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.